Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Wilson. Today we're going to create a macro on the spreadsheet with a form that allows us to edit our data. The purpose of this sheet is to keep track of accounts, usernames, and passwords, and security questions. Now, what I'm going to start with is basically we're creating a VBA form to edit the spreadsheet. Um, The objectives are to have a form that allows us to edit the records, um, use the function to pull data from the sheet to the form, be able to save data to the sheet, update data, and that sort of thing, and be able to delete data by deleting a row. Now, I'm going to wing it as best as I can. This is going to be a pretty long video, so be prepared. Get your uh, get your favorite beverage or some popcorn if that's what you want to do. Um, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to save this as a XLSM macro enabled workbook, and I'm going to append it with a 1, and we'll go from there. And I'll just add a little design feature, maybe, make it look a little bit more homely by filling up the text. Alright, so the first and second rows will not be used. So when we do our code, first of all, I'm going to start by doing a form. I'm going to go to developer. If you do not have developer set up, then you would go to your options, and then you would go to customize ribbon. And if developer is not checked, check developer. Um, Also, just for the sake of the record, I am using Microsoft Office 2010. You could get really good deals on licenses for Microsoft Office Pro 2010. I love it. I'm going to use it for the foreseeable future, and you too can use it as well. Um, all right, so we got basically we're gonna go ahead and design the form. So since we have a developer tab, I'm going to go to the Visual Basic side of things, and I'm going to bring that window up. What's going to happen here is we have our project. I'll make this so everybody could see. And we have the objects. We have a sheet, which contains my data. We have the workbook. And there's a couple of things that we're going to need. First thing we're going to need is I'm going to insert a user form, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a module. The form is the form, and it's going to have the fields on there that we need in order to facilitate entering data and pulling data from our sheet. So I'm going to call this user form. I am going to call it, let it be user form 1, but the caption is I'm going to call it account information. Real simple. And then we have the toolbox, very handy. We're going to be using essentially labels, and we're going to be using text boxes. Now, what I like to do is I like to go to my sheet, and I like to create a list of what we're going to be using as far as labels for our alright, so we're going to have an account. I'm going to do it all lowercase. I'm going to put URL user pass SQ1, SQ2, SQ3, SQ4, SQ5. And what I'm doing is, if you label things and you keep it consistent with how you label the columns in your spreadsheet, the way you label the fields in the form should be consistent with the way you label the columns on the worksheet, so that if there's any troubleshooting that you need to do, it would make things a little bit easier. So back to my form, we're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 text fields. So I'm gonna go back to the developer area and let's see here. And I'm just gonna create these fields based upon my data here. Alright, so we're gonna need an account. So I'm gonna start first by putting together like a group. Okay, move it around, edit it as you're satisfied. This is frame number 1. I'm gonna edit the caption and call it account information. I know it's redundant. Okay. But it doesn't matter what we call it. I'll just leave it alone for right now. I could change it. Nothing's written in stone. So we're going to start with a label. And I'm going to call it account. Put a space in that, and I'm going to... And this is going to be a short little text field. And the purpose of this text field is to reflect whatever account number or so that I would assign it. Let's see, I can edit the text. I can make the... Alright, well, I can't edit the text right now, but I'm gonna make it a little, I think that's reasonable there. I think I'll keep it. I like things kind of small, but I'm gonna put it there. I think that's reasonable. Now we're gonna need we're gonna need one for a URL. So what I like to do is I like to just copy things and paste things and then modify them as necessary. Actually, so URL, Uniform Resource Locator. And I'm gonna fix the fields so they line up. I mean, you could do these forms however you like. And that's the beauty of it. You can customize it as you need it, that sort of thing. And I'm gonna stretch that over. Hopefully everything looks nice and appealing and you could work with that. Let's see. I'm gonna add a field for the username. Make the field nice and pretty. Let's see, oops, check my spelling. User, and a field for the password. Okay, let's see, since this is a password field, I'm gonna go ahead and I am going to go down to the properties for this, and I'm gonna put password character asterisk. And we will label these later, like I talked about labeling them. And I'm talking about you have to label them in the properties window so that the VBA code picks it up properly. And we're going to need text for security question number 1. And let's see, I need one for the password. Let's see here. And I'm just abbreviating things just in the interest of time. I'm going to paste that again, use that, and I'm going to put SQ1, and then I'm going to copy those two to save us time. Line them up. And the thing about these forms is that you can line them up darn near perfectly. I mean, well, actually perfectly. Let's see, I gotta copy this one more time, 2 more times. And it may look plain and bland, but you could do, I think I might have put, only need 5 of these. Oops. So that's no problem. Nothing's written in stone, you can get rid of it. Now, I'm going to add some buttons for later. I'm going to add a save and a delete button. So I'm going to add a command button. Let me fix the height of it so that we can actually read it. Let's edit the text to read save. And we're going to have a delete. Alright. Alright, so my objective in this session is to basically get this form to load data for us. So I'm going to save my work. I'm going to correct these. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I have a field for every column in my worksheet to manage multiple accounts. And I want to be able to save and delete. Save my work. I like my form. It's a nice little form indeed. And doing these forms are definitely an art for sure. Alright, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to label everything according to this list that I made so that instead of, me calling out text box 1, I'm calling out account the URL instead of text box 2, user. And it's really the same. It's like almost the same as, everything else that we did for this form. Working with forms is not that difficult. Let's see here. So I'm just going to edit that so that when we call them in the code, we don't have no problem. And the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to use the active row feature of Excel so that anytime we click on the row, we know where, or every time we click on a row, the data from that specific row gets loaded into my form. So we have to set it up as a worksheet before right click type of event. You could do it as a right click type event. You could do it as a left click. You could do it any type of event you want it to be. For my purposes, I choose it to be a before right click type of event. And it's going to provide the data from the active row. Then we will want to use the save to row and delete to row. But what we're going to accomplish right now with the coding that I have prepared for us is we're going to set up the before right click type of event. And let's see here. Let me do that by going to I'm going to go to this sheet and view the code. And I'm going to say worksheet. And it automatically defaults to selection change. But there are a number of options that hopefully we could explore in future projects. But for right now, I'm going to do a before right click. And it generates the opening line for your code and the end line for your code. So it's open the code, close the code. Really simple. Now, one of the things that we're going to need to do is we need to show the user form. But before I even do that, I'm going to do that last. First, we're going to get the active row, and we're going to load all the data into the form before we use the form, or before we load the form. That makes it accurate, and it makes sure that you don't have to click on things multiple times to get the desired result. And so I'm going to start with opening with this piece of code. You have to declare your variables. Declaring your variables in the code is important because if I put a variable such as active R, the code will not run without this line because it doesn't know what this is. It needs to know if it's an integer, a long, or object or anything else. So at any time, first we're getting that. So this allows us to get the active row. This variable will be used throughout our code. Now, next, I'm going to declare our sheet, or, call our sheet. So I'm going to say with sheet credentials, and don't forget to end your with. It's a good idea to end your with before you end your sub. All right. Now what this does is it calls this sheet before we do anything, we call the stuff from the sheet. Now, the purpose of what I'm doing here is to load the form with data from my sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and put some dummy data in my sheet. Sorry if it seems like I'm all over the place, but hey, you know. What a password. And you could do different things to the sheet to conceal your passwords, but none of this is real. So, I mean, you can't use that password because I don't have an account for that. I'm going to put http dot dash Paul R. Wilson Jr.com, and I'm just going to put a bogus account number, security question 1, Coca-Cola, security question number 2, Ford Tri-Motor, security question number 3, Uber, security question number 4, well, it doesn't matter. We'll just keep going. Okay, the purpose of this is, all right, before right click, we want to show the form. So I'm going to pull the code up, user form. What we have is user form 1, and we're going to show the user form. So I'm going to go back to my VBA coding section. And I'm going to do that after everything else. I'm going to do that. I'm going to show the form last. But with sheet credentials, we're going to pull, we're going to say, we're going to pull the, well, before I want to make sure the form shows real quick. So I'm going to just go ahead and show us the form. All right, there's our form, as you can see. But it doesn't, it's kind of a dummy form. So that's what we have. That's going to help us edit this whole sheet. But at one line at a time. So we got the form to show. Now we want to load the data that's currently listed in this into our form for possible editing. So what we want to do is, there are a couple of different ways to do this, but I'm going to do it a simple way that makes it easy for you. So I'm going to go back to my active sheet, or my worksheet, before I show the form. Remember when I declared variable, used variable, passed the active cell dot row to my variable so that we could use it in our code. Then with sheets credentials, I'm going to start loading the form data, and I'm going to say user form 1 account dot range account dot text equals range A active row dot value. So what's going to happen now is when I load this form, that's going to show up there in the account information. All right, so we're going to have to do the rest for the rest of the form. And just for the purposes of time, I've already done it. ahead of time. Um, let's see here. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste everything out. I'm gonna tab everything out so that everything looks nice. Alright, so what I've done here is with sheet credentials, I've called the user form account text and I set it equal to range A, range column A, and the active row value. So there's our variable being used throughout this code, and I want to do something with the form that I'm not really. I think that all the text has to be shrunk to fit inside. So I wonder if I could edit the text, edit the font of these fields with something a little bit, something simpler. And you can make it look like how you want. You know, that's the beauty of this thing, you know. And I'm going to drop it down a point or two. And let's see. Let's take a look at what we got. See, I don't like the way it's doing that, but we can always fix that. That's no problem. And it's not pulling up the security questions either. Let me try that again. Oh, it's pulling up one of the security questions, but what about security question 2? And security question number 3. F. So it's F. What's happening here is it's not. Okay, I'm gonna take a look at something. There's always something funky going on. Always something funky going on. Uh, oops. I don't want to do that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the text. Oh well, like you can edit that, you can make that look better. Like I can do this form up any way I want to. That's the beautiful part of it. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start moving stuff around. Let's see, we're already at a half an hour. And this is where it could get a little messy sometimes, but we're gonna make this real nice. I want to be able to see all the text. Let's see, of my form. So maybe I could take this, no, take the buttons, no, just the buttons. I can move them down for now. Take this field. Do the same for this field. But give them a little bit more space. As you see, you don't really want to, you know, have. And then also too, be careful when copy and paste um, on here, because you could get hidden fields. I think that's what happened to me. Yeah, that's right. That's right. See, that needs to go. I see what happened to me. Okay, that's why it wasn't showing all the data that I wanted it to show for these specific fields, because I got kind of careless with the copy and paste, and yeah, it happens. I'll go back and check. But each of these fields need to be named properly for this to work properly. Otherwise, you'll be out of range with the and then if you get okay, okay. Okay, okay. I might have crashed Excel here. Okay, basically what I did was I updated the form so that it shows all of the characters and their height and everything. Um, this indeed is going to be a three-part series, so we'll do the save and deletes coming up soon. Just to demonstrate the test, like no data for load in row 4, and I have some information for load in row 3 where my data is. The things that I went ahead and corrected was obviously the layout there, but also I went in and did some of the code, whereas earlier in the video, like I had it all like 2, 2, 2, 2 all the way going down. And the thing is, when you copy and paste in VBA, you have to be really vigilant and careful, and that's one thing that I definitely myself would need to work on. Um, so there are a couple of things I added to the code. I added an if statement, if and then statement to basically check if the active row is 1 or if the active row is 2. And if that's the case, it needs to exit the sub because I have no use for this form running up here and down here. And just, to demonstrate that's exactly the case. But when I click down there and anywhere else on the sheet, then I would like my form to load. So that simple action helped to make the code run a little better for me. But we're going to do different things down the line, and we may even expand upon this. Also, too, I just want to explain that I corrected all this and made sure everything, all the column references lined up and everything like that. Um, and that's really essentially what we had to do what I had to do to make it to work properly. Now, we, we want to be able to add data to this, and I plan on doing that by just say you right click and you enter your data on the cell and you save it. But then on the delete thing, when you delete it, it's just going to delete the entire row. And that way all the data stays continuous. I don't know. Like, let me know, peoples, if I'm on to something, or, if this is helping you out, or, or whatever's on your mind, a penny for your thoughts sort of thing. Um, I want to thank you for watching my video. If you feel that this material has benefited you in any way, feel free to subscribe, share, like the video, and visit the site, which is in the description box. And once again, thanks you for watching, and have a great day.